Hello, my name is Wendy Christensen. We are pleased that you have joined us at 8th Street Ministries for our series of discussions on the 10 Commandments, based on information contained in the book, The 10 Commandments by Patrick D. Miller. In part 3 of the 9th Commandment, found in Exodus 20, which says, of course, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor, we will explore 3 well-known historical theologians and see what they say about the 9th Commandment. Those theologians will include Thomas Aquinas, Martin Luther, and John Calvin. Thomas Aquinas, a 13th century Italian priest who is thought by some to be one of the Roman Catholic Church's greatest theologians and philosophers, viewed the 9th Commandment as the second half of the 8th Commandment. It, like the 8th Commandment, which prohibits injury by deed, stealing, prohibits injury of neighbor by word, or bearing false witness. He believed the intended context for the commandment were primarily in courts of justice in 3 venues. 1, a plaintiff engaged in false accusation by speaking falsely or concealing truth. 2, a witness lying during testimony. Or 3, a judge sentencing in an unjust manner. He also viewed this commandment in ordinary terms, ordinary conversation of ordinary folk, where people were backbiting or making secret damaging remarks against neighbors, listening to false accusations, gossiping, flattering or praising the unjust, complaining. Aquinas thought lying was wrong because it made one the child of the devil, who he believed was indeed the father of lies. He thought that it caused the loss of individual reputation for truth and that it killed the soul as a mortal sin. He distinguished between mortal lies, described as lying in matters of faith by professors, bishops, or preachers, or intentional lying to wrong a neighbor, from lesser, or what he determined to be venial lies, which were meant to be lying for one's own advantage, out of humility to conceal the truth concerning some good done, lying out of shame. For example, telling a lie out of ignorance, believed to be true, but then being ashamed to retract. Lying to benefit another, for example, to free them from death, from danger, or from loss, or lying out of vanity. Martin Luther, a 16th century German monk, priest, theologian, and reformer of the Christian church, like Aquinas, sees the 9th commandment as the second half of the 8th because he believes that just as property is valuable to us, so is our reputation. God does not want us to deprive our neighbor of their reputation, honor, or character. He offers 3 applications of the commandment, including judicial, protecting the legal rights of a neighbor, whether as a judge or as a witness. Secondly, spiritual, prohibiting false witness against preachers and Christians by deriding or mocking. And 3, personal, no sins of the tongue which offend or injure a neighbor. This applies especially to backbiting and slander. John Calvin, an influential 16th century French author, theologian, and pastor during the Protestant Reformation, who wrote the famous Institutes of the Christian Religion, believed the 9th commandment prohibits actions that can take many forms in a variety of contexts. But he focuses on prohibiting defamation and slander while emphasizing both negative and positive sides of the commandments. What I mean by this regarding defamation, which is negative, he says the commandment prohibits one from bringing false charges against another, backbiting and malicious talk, lying to bring about loss or damage to a neighbor's reputation, listening to defamatory speech, or making hasty judgments based on malicious talk. Regarding truthfulness, on the other hand, which is positive, Calvin says the commandment enjoins the affirmation of truth in others and exhorts the protection and safeguarding of the name and reputation of one's neighbor. In summary, we have just discussed the theological views regarding the 9th Commandment of Thomas Aquinas, Martin Luther, and John Calvin.